Hello, my name is Greg Story. I'm the president of Dale Carnegie Training here in Japan and the author of the bestseller Japan Sales Mastery, and soon to be the new author of a new book called Japan Business Mastery. This is episode 35 in a series I've been doing on how to do business in Japan. And today we're talking about Tatemae and Honne, two very, very important words. Japanese are two-faced. This is a common reaction to a major cultural difference with the West. Someone says one thing, but does something else, or more often than not, doesn't do what they said they would do. This is where the two-faced accusation arises. You make a presentation and they tell you it's very good, and they will study it carefully. Your expectations are high, because you feel you are on the brink of an agreement here and the money will start flowing your way very shortly. Everyone was so nice, smiling and friendly. You feel you established some solid rapport with the buyer. Japanese people are so polite. You are thinking to yourself, you never hear from them again. When you email them to follow up, there's no response. When you call them back, they are always away from their desk in a meeting. The person who answers says, call them back later, never volunteering the idea you could leave your number for them to call you back. You do call them back again, and lo and behold, the same routine as before. What's going on here? This time you've wised up a bit, so you cleverly give them your number and ask if they call you back. The person you are talking with assures you they will pass on the number and they will call you back. They never do. They have now disappeared into the great void, and you are wondering what on earth happened. Everyone seems so positive. They said they would study it, and now they have spurned every attempt to follow up. This scenario plays out all of the time here in different guises, but the same outcome applies. You are told something and then it doesn't occur. You feel betrayed. What is going on? We need some context. Japan is the world champion in managing high-density living in great harmony and has been doing so for many, many centuries. For example, the contrast to the trash heaps masquerading as major cities in Europe, with sewage flowing in open drains and trash being thrown into the streets, couldn't have been greater. Japanese cities at that time were clean. Like today, everyone cleans up around their house or place of business. You'll always see shopkeepers cleaning up the street in front of their store, and in summer spreading water to keep down the dust. You don't see any of this in the West. We had World Cleanup Day here the other day, and my team participated. It was a joke, really, because the streets here are so pristine. We struggled to find any garbage to pick up. We got the obligatory group photograph, of course, though. It has been like this for a long time. What this means is that they bathed every day, had clean cities, and didn't have the same levels of personal confrontation the Western urban inhabitants have had. The Japanese have worked out that living together cheek by jowl requires the suspension of some absolute truths, and these have been replaced with relative truths. This flexibility with the truth is what drives the two-faced charge. They will tell you something you want to hear, knowing full well they can't do it to keep everything harmonious. They'll tell you that, and they'll avoid ugly confrontations. From their point of view, that's good. For example, you ask someone on the street where a certain place is located. They point you in the opposite direction to which they are going, and about 20 minutes later, you discover, wait a minute, they have shown me the complete wrong direction. Actually, they didn't know the location themselves. So to avoid the embarrassment of admitting that, they sent you off in the direction you were most unlikely to ever meet them again should you discover the truth. You may have had a really good business meeting and your hopes are high. Maybe they actually did their best for you to get the deal approved, but internally, the decision went the other way. They won't be doing any business with you. Having met you, that would be an embarrassing conversation, making your Japanese interlocutor uncomfortable. The best way for them to avoid that scenario is to disappear from plain sight and go into permanent incommunicado. The avoidance of unpleasantness, embarrassment, difficulties, awkward moments, etc., has been drilled into everyone here from birth. So being a little fast and loose with the truth is felt to be much better than flagrant confrontation. In the West, we are very ideological about the truth. The Japanese, less so. What can you do about it? Nothing. This is the culture, and your muscular beliefs on how Japan should be run are very enlightening. We thank you for your contribution to society, but things are not going to change around here ever. In some ways, we have to become temporarily deaf. People who lose their hearing have to compensate with their eyes. They become highly adept at understanding what is going on by watching the body language of the other party. We should stop relying too much on what we are being told verbally. We should be fully focused on reading the smallest indications of resistance in their body language. We need to do this while they are still captive in the meeting room, before they have time to escape. We need to dig deeper on what we can sense will be a difficult decision for them to agree to. This is the time to be frank and get a better read on the likely outcome. Make it easy for them. Say, Suk-san, I understand that there will be a series of internal processes involved to agree to my proposal. I know you will support me, so thank you for that. But realistically, do you think this is going to be difficult internally? Side note here, the English word difficult is normally translated into Japanese as muzugashi. This is in fact a poor translation. The real nuance is closer to impossible than difficult. So when you ask this question, the Japanese person is hearing, isn't this going to be impossible internally? They are likely to say, yes, it will be muzugashi. So you know right there and then your proposal is a dead duck. In my first business meeting in Japan, I remember the people I was meeting with told me they would mai muki ni kento itashimasu, or study my proposal in a positive light. I was buzzing. I was so excited because I thought I'd landed my first deal in Japan. A more experienced Japan hand wised me up when he said that answer was code for no. This was my first encounter with Tatemae and Honne, the public face and the real face of Japan. Nothing has changed 40 years later. So, when you're dealing with Japan and you bump into this Tatemae and Honne problem, don't get hung up on universal truths, ideological positions, except they do this for cultural reasons and you've got to fit in with it. So when we're here in Japan and we get into this situation, be flexible, look for ways, as I say, study with your eyes, look for body language, look for hints, try and draw out if there's going to be a problem and try and get around that. Don't take it as, oh, everyone's lying to me. Yeah, they're maybe not telling 100% the truth, but it's not for the reasons you might ascertain normally would happen in the West. They are doing this to keep the harmony. I know it's difficult to grasp when you're not coming from that background, but after a while, you start to understand, oh, that's how things work, so then you adjust for it. Thank you for watching this episode of Doing Business in Japan.